Hey there, everyone. This is Samuel Johnson, and welcome back to the Phantom Perspectives. And today we're going to be talking about episode 3 of Danny Phantom, One of a Kind. And in this episode, the bad guy is a ghost game hunter. His name is Skulker, and, well, as you kind of expect, he wants to hunt Danny. Pretty much, as he puts it, he's a collector of rare and valuable things, which which seem to mostly be ghosts that are kind of just unique in their own way. As such, he has his eyes set on Danny because he's half human. As such, he decides to go after Danny. Well, at the same time, Danny is currently trying to struggle with being a regular high school student and his superhero job, as the first thing he's spending so much time at night fighting ghosts and catching them that he doesn't have enough time to study, and as such, because of this, he's interviewed, and as such, he winds up getting a D on a test. To try and make up for this, Sam suggests that he study a rare gorilla called a pearlback gorilla. There's supposedly only 2 left in the world, and both of them are male. So pretty much once they die, species is gone for good. So Sam suggests that they probably study the current one that they have in the local Amityville Zoo. No, Amity Park. I just forgot. And that, yes, I'm aware. Like Amity Park, Amityville, ghosts, and all that. Yeah, that's enough. I'm not gonna. Yeah, ghost puns and all that. The bottom line, Sam says that if Danny were to study this gorilla, then he could probably find something there that no one else has, and possibly get it released since there are only 2 left in the world. It's obvious she has an agenda here, but Danny does go through with it because he needs to try and figure out why. Because he does want to try and improve his grade, and this is probably the only way he can. In the meantime, Tucker begins using a PDA that he has to pretty much schedule out all of Danny's day and pretty much everything he can do, yada yada yada. Well, Skulker begins hunting Danny, and he manages to follow him into the zoo, but unfortunately, Danny and Tucker fall asleep because pretty much because Danny, Tucker, and Sam were all watching Samson for hours, and he did nothing. Well, Samson winds up Tucker winds up appearing, gets the attention of a tiger, and they fight, which causes Samson to react. Sam sees this, and when Samson wants to be let out because she's for animal rights, she lets it out from the control system says open or close, because I guess all of them are like that. And Samson proceeds to find Skulker and beat the ever-living crap out of him. Which is kind of funny, because he's the self-proclaimed greatest hunter in the ghost world, and yet this gorilla is a problem for him. He's got all this great high-tech weaponry at his disposal that he can use to catch even the most slippery of ghosts, and yet the gorilla is the biggest problem for him. Pretty much, well, yeah. Bottom line, but pretty much as they're fighting, he gets thrown. His gear gets damaged, and he gets thrown into the same area that Danny and Tucker are in, and yeah, they fall. And actually, they're kind of as funny as that they fall asleep, and in their sleeping they wind up hugging, and Sam takes a picture for blackmail purposes. But still, Samson comes in and causes Skulker to run away. However, Samson rampaging causes Danny to wake up, and when he sees Samson out, he puts him back in his cage. As such, they go back to Danny's house, and at this time, Danny's mom is being interviewed by a woman for a magazine called Genius Magazine, which Jazz set up because she wants to convince the world that her parents are normal. Even though the first thing she talks about is that she's studying ghosts. Jazz keeps trying to say, "Oh, but they're also studying form of renewable energy and yada yada yada." Pretty much, just Jazz is just getting angry that all this woman is seeing is the weird stuff, and it only gets worse when Danny comes home because he's sleep deprived. He doesn't know what to do, and it gets worse when he goes to his room. Skulker is there waiting for him. He grabs him in a net and just tells him his whole shtick of he wants to capture him because he's a unique find. As such, they fight. as such, they fight, which causes a ruckus throughout the top floor, and they wind up falling right to the Fenton Labs, where Skulker almost gets Danny into the ghost zone, but Sam is able to come in and distract Skulker long enough for Danny to get himself free. But in the process, during the fight, Danny knocks Skulker into Tucker, and Tucker drops his PDA, which Skulker sees, and thinking it looks so sleek, so advanced, which I guess was probably advanced from when it was made. He looks at his damage technology from when he fought Samson, and just replaces it, and it fixes everything. It turns out that the PDA is completely compatible with his technology, and it allows him to almost get an upper hand. Only it turns out that Skulker is now confined to Danny's schedule that Tucker set up, which seems to act on its own at every time. Like, just because Skulker gets away, and Danny manages to go up to his room and send everyone off because his parents during the fighting, Danny's parents, Jazz, and the interviewer we're going to go to his room, hearing all the ruckus, and so Danny flew up to his room and shoot them away before they could see all the damage that had been done to his room in the fight. But pretty much through the next day, Skulker appears wherever Danny is because the PDA he has is linked up to Danny's schedule, and Tucker had a spare PDA too that he apparently synced it all up to. Upon realizing this, Danny decides that he's going to use that to his advantage, and goes to a place that he's going to go to later, namely the zoo. He goes to the zoo where they replace Samson, and when Tucker doesn't see, and so when Skulker arrives, I keep getting the names mixed up because they almost sound the same or similar anyway. Skulker is just angry because he thinks Danny didn't appear until he finds that Samson in the cage is just Danny, Sam, and Tucker all in a gorilla suit. So Danny starts fighting Skulker, and it looks like he's kind of getting the advantage because it turns out that the PDA he has synced up to his armor can also be hacked by Tucker's PDA, but Skulker manages to shoot an arrow at Tucker's PDA and is just getting ready to kill Danny because he's gone through so much crap, and now originally he was going to capture Danny alive, but now he's just going to kill him because he's just that angry. But it turns out Danny came prepared. It turns out he managed to actually communicate with. He turns out he learned how Samson communicates, through hand gestures and sign language and all that. And Samson once again comes out and just beats the crap out of Skulker, just tears him apart, just rips him limb from limb, and if it wasn't a suit, it probably already was a ghost, it would be gruesome, and turns out this entire body is a suit. Like, because even Tucker's like, why would a ghost need a mech suit? And so when his head was flying out, it turns out Skulker is just this little imp thing, this green little ghost with a high-pitched voice, that pretty much on his own is not very intimidating. As such, they're able to hold him back very easily and suck him into the Fenton Thermos, and pretty much the day is saved. Of course, Danny thinks that, he's still kind of screwed because he still can't find a way to get a better grade on his test. Until Samson gets close enough, Danny looks over, turns out he is a she. As such, he's able to put that in his report, and that somehow gets published in Genius Magazine alongside his mom and the gorilla, which I guess makes sense because the lady was interested, because the interview lady was interested in Danny because she saw all those signs and he thought he had the traits of a genius, but the magazine was exclusively for women, so I guess since he discovered a female gorilla, that's warrants for something. And so, because of this extra credit, Danny's grade is bumped up from a D to a C, which, having gone to high school myself, Danny's lucky to get that, actually, because that is what they would do. That is exactly what they will do in high school. Or even college for that matter. They will bump up your grade. If you're able to do enough work, they will bump up your grade you're lucky if they bump you up a letter grade. So, of course, Danny's just a little upset about this, but once everyone's out of the room, he decides that he wants to try and find something to vent his rage on, and coincidence, there's a ghost nearby. A ghost that they actually encountered at the beginning of the episode called the Box Ghost, and he's just the eternal punching bag of Danny Phantom, and so Danny decides to use him for what he is and just beats the crap out of him. So, I openly admit I think this episode's kind of stupid, but it's not bad. It's not bad. For starters, I like Skulker. I like him. Like, he is trying to be definitely terrifying. Like, his design definitely kind of screams Game Hunter, because he wears a black vest. He has hair that looks like it's on. He has hair that's kind of. He's kind of got like the little the mohawk. Yeah, he's kind of got a fiery mohawk and a goatee, which I like. He's got a little skull necklace. He's got these He's got cleat boots, or he's got boots. All this, pretty much, he just looks like a big game hunter, and it does definitely make him look threatening, and he does have all the firepower to back it up. He definitely is a tough customer. In fact, one of the scenes was where he found. I'm sorry, I'm very hot. I have to turn the fan off. It is broiling outside right now, and my room is like on the top floor. This is not going to go well. I am so sorry about this, but anyway. So pretty much, he is a tough customer. But what's funny about him is that... Oh, God, I got something in my eye. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Anyway, what's funny about him, though, is that despite his bravado, he keeps getting taken down rather quickly. Like, he is a tough customer. He's got all these weaponries. He does... And, again, kind of going for an example, he goes... One of the first scenes with him is that after Danny, Sam, and Tucker left the library, he sees the computer with the purple black gorilla stuff. And just when he's looking it up, a kid comes up, not intimidated by the giant ghost guy at the computer. And so what does Skulker do? He strings him to the wall with a ghost web, and then pretty much just gags his mouth and covers his eyes with this weird goo just to keep him quiet. And he even makes a quip by saying, "Be quiet. You're in a library." It's just nice. It's just kind of nice. It's funny. It's intimidating. It's just really nice. And again, part of the joke is that he gets easily frustrated. The thing that helps improve his armor becomes a hindrance that he can't reprogram, and it's funny. And again, biggest game hunter in the ghost world, and he gets his ass kicked by a gorilla. And it's just priceless. And I know gorillas are threatening, but this guy is a game hunter. The gorilla, I think the gorilla will have a fight, but I think he could probably get through it, especially since it's a ghost. And it's just dumb, but he's so glorious. He's funny. He's threatening, like, he's funny because it looks like he can be threatening, but what's funny about him is that he gets taken down kind of easily. And on top of that, another thing this episode shows is kind of Danny trying to level everything out between his school life and his ghost life. And again, there's the whole Purple Black Gorilla stuff. I kind of would like to throw it into the same, part of me kind of wants to throw it into the same thing as the Jack Fenton subplot from last week, but I'm not going to do that because, one, it does feed into the plot, and two, it is still kind of funny to see the gorilla actually kind of come in, like, that actually does come in, because that does kind of come into the plot with Skulker. It's the thing that ultimately beats him, and it's very funny. It's just funny. And again, I think that's really this greatest strength. You got this intimidating villain who's got all this gear for catching ghosts. He's actually a legitimate threat. Like, he's legitimately a threat to Danny. Like, because another part of the double-edged sword is because he knows where Danny is at every moment. Whenever Danny's trying to relax, he pops up. Danny's about to open his locker. Boom! He comes in. He's eating lunch. Comes out of the carton. Danny's in gym. Danny actually at this point, Danny starts catching on, so he has Dash open his locker. Again, I like stuff like that. It's really nice. He's this big threat, and yet he's just constantly beaten so easily. First by a PDA, and then by a gorilla. It's priceless. It's just priceless. On top of that, I think that's really, and I think that's really just the strength. Just this. It's just kind of, it's like, it helps set up the tone of the show. Like, you have this, again, I keep beating this dead horse, but Skulker looks threatening. He's trying to be threatening. He wants to be a force to be taken seriously. And yet he's constantly beaten down by all these little things. And it's just funny. It's just funny, and it's nice, and I love it. And even, it's just really nice. And again, what helps make it, I think that makes it even work, is the payoff, too. That he's just this little shrimp inside his own suit. Like, even for him, that's just all just, it's all just to compensate. And it's just hilarious. It's just priceless. Like, he's got the mindsets. He knows what to do with all this stuff. and yet he can't do anything. It is glorious. As such, again, I think this episode's dumb, but it is so fun. It is so amazing. And again, props go to the Box Ghost. He is not taken seriously even in the context of the show, because his powers consist of controlling boxes, which even Danny doesn't find intimidating. It's just hilarious. Yeah, and this is not his last appearance for both of these characters, for both Box Ghost and Skulker. So, yeah, overall, dumb episode, but fun dumb. Like, very funny, very interesting, just very just pure entertaining all the way. So yeah, overall I loved it. It's stupid, but I loved it. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Next time I do this in my room, though, I'm turning the fan on. I do not care if there's background music. Or if that's background sound. I'm turning a fan on. I am boiling alive here, man.